Hey there! Welcome to my guide on our first dedicated anomaly support, Ukinami Yuzuha. In this video I'll go over Yuzuha's kit, W engines, drive disks, gameplay tips, team options, and synergies. If you find the guide helpful, please like and subscribe. Now let's dive in. Yuzuha is an S-rank physical support agent and a part of the Spookshack faction. She's designed to be a support for anomaly teams, but her gear build and general supportive functions makes her flexible enough to work as a support for any team. She has a simple gameplay loop with very little to consider, thanks to the long durations of her buffs and debuffs. So if we're looking for a support to round out any team really, Yuzuha will fit that role, giving her very high value as a character and making her future-proof. Now let's go over her core character mechanics. Let's start with Yuzuha's unique character resource, sugar points. At the start of combat, Yuzuha initially has 3 sugar points. She can store up to 6 in total, and she generates a varying amount from a couple of different abilities. These sugar points are used to trigger an aftershock attack, which can happen once every 8 seconds. Spending these points happen autonomously and we won't have to think too much about them, given how long the cooldown is between each trigger. As long as we don't overcap on sugar points, we're handling them well. The other core part of Yuzuha's kit is the Sweet Scare effect, which she applies to enemies when they're hit by her ultimate or EX special. By itself, Sweet Scare doesn't really do anything. It's just an effect that facilitates 2 other damaging abilities. The basic function of Sweet Scare is that it will change the attribute damage of those 2 other damaging skills to align with the first attribute the affected enemy is hit by. So if Billy hits the enemy first, the damage will remain as physical. But if Ambi is the first to hit the enemy, the damage will instead turn to electric damage. Every second, enemies affected by Sweet Scare will take damage related to the active attribute. Next, let's go over her primary supportive powers, which comes from her core passive and additional ability. When Yuzuha's EX special or ultimate connects with an enemy, she applies the Tanuki Wish buff to her whole team, including herself. Any agent with this buff gains 2 effects. The first is a 15% general damage increase, and the other is a combat attack increase that scales with Yuzuha's initial attack. This buff lasts for 40 seconds, so we don't have to worry too much about its uptime. Yuzuha's additional ability activates when an anomaly agent or another Spookshack member is in her team. When active, the Tanuki Wish buff now also provides a percentage bonus to anomaly buildup rate, attribute anomaly damage, and disorder damage. The percentage increase is the same for all 3 bonuses and scales with Yuzuha's anomaly mastery. Yuzuha's basic attack string is a 5-hit combo. Being a support though, we're not looking to do a lot of basic attacks with her. But one thing that is worth mentioning about this combo is that the 4th and 5th hit provides a fair bit of energy. A couple of Yuzuha's other skills chain into basic 3, giving us the option to generate some extra energy while also hitting with the strongest part of the basic attack string. If we hold down the basic attack button, Yuzuha enters a parrying stance and will block any incoming damage. If we successfully block an attack this way, we gain a sugar point and can perform either her normal assist follow-up or the improved version, depending on timing. Now, the 2 most important parts of Yuzuha's basic attacks are the damaging components of the Sweet Scare effect. The baseline damaging skill is essentially a damage over time effect, since it triggers once every second on the enemy. This damage takes after the attribute Sweet Scare was changed into, and has a respectable amount of anomaly buildup for its low damage. The secondary damaging effect of Sweet Scare triggers when an enemy is hit by either Yuzuha's aftershock attack or her improved assist follow-up. This attack causes a significantly higher amount of damage. These 2 damaging effects are some of Yuzuha's most important functionalities, but they're completely autonomous, so we hardly ever have to think about them. Yuzuha's EX special attack is a simple but very important skill. It's a high motion value hit of physical damage that costs 60 energy to use. Yuzuha gains 2 sugar points on activation, applies the Sweet Scare effect to any enemies hit by it, gives her whole team the Tanuki Wish buff, and triggers a quick assist for the next agent in line. This attack really is at the core of Yuzuha's gameplay, since it activates all of her supportive functions. However, the attack has a rather long attack animation, and while it is possible to quick swap to another agent as soon as the animation starts, getting the quick assist, which happens at the end of the attack animation, can be important in some cases. So rather than hard casting this skill, we'd instead want to use the quick version, which removes almost all of the animation time. Tapping the EX button after a dodge counter, quick assist, assist follow-up, or a perfect dodge will give us the quicker version of this skill. It should always be in the back of our minds that if we want to reapply buffs or debuffs, this is the way to do it. Yuzuha's dodge skills doesn't add anything to her kit. The only thing worth mentioning about them is that the dash attack chains into basic 3, which can be useful if we want to add some extra energy to the tank. As for her assists, the quick assist chains into basic 3 or into the quick EX special. She has a defensive assist that generates a sugar point, and she also has 2 assist follow-ups. The first one is triggered by simply attacking after a defensive assist or after negating an attack with Yuzuha's block. The second one, and the preferred version of the skill, is triggered if we wait for the visual and sound cue given by Yuzuha's umbrella during a block or defensive assist. We should always aim to use this version of the assist follow-up because it not only has a significantly higher motion value, both in terms of damage and daze, but it also triggers the stronger version of the Sweet Scare attack. Yuzuha's chain attack is a fairly quick move of physical damage that also generates a sugar point. Her ultimate generates 2 sugar points, provides energy to her other 2 team members, deals respectable damage and anomaly buildup, and finally it inflicts enemies with the Sweet Scare state. This move is a utility powerhouse and should not be neglected. With how Yuzuha's utility and useful skills are spread across most of her abilities, she can be expensive to level up, as we'd ideally want everything apart from her dodge to be at a fairly high level. But there's definitely a priority to leveling up her skills. Her core passive, basic attack and EX special are all equally as important, since this is where her main utility comes from. Then her ultimate and chain attack comes in at a second place priority, followed by her assist. Dodge is unimportant and can be left at a lower rank. Now over to Yuzuha's gearing options. I made a dedicated video on Yuzuha's gearing options as there's quite a bit to talk about when it comes to her many choices. If you're interested in the reasoning behind my recommendations, please watch that video. I'll link it under the subscribe button and in the top right hand corner of the video. But if you're just looking for somewhere to start, here's a quick recap. For a general all-purpose low-effort setup, go for attack percent in slot 4 and 5 and anomaly mastery in slot 6. Use Faithless Melody as the 2-piece and Proto-Punk as the 4-piece option. As for W engine, the priority is Metanuki Morphosis, Weeping Gemini, Kaboom the Cannon, and lastly Unfeathered Game Ball. With this setup, we can swap out Proto-Punk for Astral Voice, but that will require a lot more thought to go into our rotations, as we need 2 out of 3 stacks of the Astral Voice 4-piece to be active for it to be better than the Proto-Punk 4-piece set bonus. If you don't mind the extra layer of difficulty, I do recommend doing this though, since the extra 10% attack from the Astral Voice 2-piece makes it easier to reach the 3000 attack needed to cap out Yuzuha's core passive. For substat priorities and stat goals, we're looking for attack percent first, followed by flat attack up to a total of 3000 attack. Then we're looking for crit stats or anomaly proficiency. If we specifically want to use Yuzuha to support a physical anomaly DPS like Jane, Alice or Piper, the change we'd want to make is to swap out the attack percent disc in slot 4 for an anomaly proficiency disc, and ignore crit stats as a substat priority altogether and only focus on anomaly proficiency. This change isn't necessary, but it will lessen Yuzuha's negative impact on the assault attribute anomaly. Again, all of this information is an abbreviated version of everything I talk about in my full gearing video. I'll gladly answer any questions about gearing, but I would ask that you first have a look at the gearing video just to make sure that your question isn't already answered in there. Time for some gameplay tips. Yuzuha is very self-sufficient, and we only really need to bring her on field to reapply the very long-lasting buffs and debuffs once every 35 to 40 seconds or so, depending on skill investment. Though this is just the bare minimum, we can and should keep in mind her surprisingly high damage potential and any other buffs she provides from gearing choices. So completely neglecting her isn't what we're looking for during combat. Here are a couple of pointers I believe are worth keeping in mind while bringing Yuzuha into any team. By itself, Yuzuha's block can be a bit awkward. Compared to other agents' block or parrying skills, Yuzuha's block is a predictive instead of a reactive skill. This is because the move doesn't instantly come out, nor does it animation cancel other skills. So we need to be a bit more aware of how we use this skill. However, if we decide to use it, it provides a very long invulnerability window, as well as a quick way into the improved assist follow-up. I can't emphasize this enough. Always wait for the sound and visual cue for the improved assist follow-up. There are so many benefits to using the improved version of this attack over the normal one, and all it requires from us is to not spam out attacks after a block or defensive assist. Just wait that little bit longer to use the improved version instead. always avoid hard casting the EX special. We don't really need to learn which skills lead into the fast EX special since it's most of the defensive options. Just keep in mind that the fast EX special is the preferred way to reapply all of Yuzuha's utility, and it will make her gameplay flow feel a lot better as well. Here's a list of the skills that generate sugar points. There's a long 8-second cooldown between each sugar point is spent on an aftershock attack, but as with all character resources, we want to ever avoid overcapping on these points. So during combat, keep an extra eye out on how many we have and be mindful of how and when we use our sugar point generating skills. Yuzuha's buffs and debuffs lasts for a very long time, up to 40 seconds at max skill ranks, and even without energy regen on her discs or W engine, 40 seconds of combat will passively give her 48 energy. Then considering we're trying to bring Yuzuha on field for any sort of defensive function to generate sugar points, we have a lot of opportunities to hit enemies a couple of times, to make sure that we have enough energy for when the buffs and debuffs are about to run out. Now, if we include a 50% energy regen from, for example, a W engine, we now have a fair bit of excess energy even without bringing Yuzuha on field at all. So what I'm trying to say here is that we don't have to worry about energy regen if we know what we're doing. 1 or 2 rotations of basic attacks from Yuzuha between each EX special will be enough to give her the 60 energy needed for the next round of buffs and debuffs. At first, Yuzuha can feel a bit clunky to use, especially with her block and the timing required for her improved assist follow-up. But once we get the hang of her quick EX special and how to properly manage her sugar points, things start to flow much more smoothly. Her kit is all about timing and efficient energy management, and once we've figured out how to balance these two things, she starts to feel really good to play as well. I hope these pointers were helpful and that they will help you get a better understanding of how to play Yuzuha effectively. With minimal practice, she'll quickly become a very reliable addition to any roster. Let's cap off the video by briefly covering Yuzuha's team options. While Yuzuha is designed to be a support for anomaly teams, her strong combat attack buff and general damage increase makes her a solid choice for nearly any squad. On screen now you'll see a couple of team recommendations I've put together, with a slight bias towards anomaly teams. This isn't an exhaustive list, but it should give you an idea of what makes a good fit for Yuzuha. We'll get the most out of Yuzuha when she supports 2 anomaly agents of different attributes, as this maximizes their potential through disorders and attribute anomaly uptime, really letting Yuzuha flex with all of her utility. Some of the teams I show here might still prefer Astra as a support, but since Deadly Assault requires 3 different teams to fully complete, having another strong support like Yuzuha alongside Astra is just a great bonus. Thanks to Yuzuha's flexibility as a support, she can even step into Astra's role in certain situations with the right W engine choice. And that's it for this guide. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out the Yuzuha gearing video for more of my gearing recommendations. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.